The king of falling off has returned. Welcome back to the show. You all voted on my Twitter for me to talk about something that was more personal to myself. And initially I was gonna phone it in and do something that was gonna get 0 views and be a dumb idea anyways. But I think it's time for me to let the cat out of the bag and describe my experience with one of the worst communities that I've ever stepped foot in, and just spread this video out there as a message to anyone who is thinking about or currently in that community. Full disclosure, this video will be mostly about my experiences and my knowledge on the topic. It won't go into details about a lot of stuff involving myself in that community. If you want me to make a follow-up, I will, but for right now, I don't feel that's relevant to what I want this video to be about. I want it to spread awareness about this community and why I disavow it with every bone of my body as of very, very recently. I hesitated speaking any of this to anybody beyond the people I knew in this community. However, I feel with my growing platform and my ability to work with it as best as I can, I feel it's necessary at this point in time, while I'm still growing, to bring it up and tell everyone about it. Without further ado, let me describe to you the toxic pipeline of subliminal audio affirmations. My information for this video will rely on first-hand information I've had as a former Subliminal listener and creator. Yes, I created Subliminals at a point, and I am ashamed of having done so. You may have heard of subliminal messaging in advertising or marketing, and the therapeutic process of subliminal messaging is somewhat similar. It is a niche practice that has its roots well past decades and decades before I'm making this video. Whether it be used for an alternative to hypnosis, or in the current age as a magical pill to fix anyone's problems, I disavow all of it, and I do not believe it is founded in any rigorous scientific theory that leads to any serious results. And this is coming from the experience of someone who has been down this pipeline since I was a teenager and somewhat into my adult life. The modern explanation of how subliminals work is that you essentially layer voices, whether they be text-to-speech or actual vocals, behind music in a specific way so that these messages can penetrate past your conscious layer and into your subconscious. When these voices reach your subconscious mind, they are supposed to dictate your brain to do actions beyond its own capability, such as make you taller, make you stronger, make you happier, or in more extreme cases, give you supernatural powers or other things like that. And if you've seen other outsider coverage of subliminals, you will know I'm not joking about that last part. It is all superstition and magical thinking, and the community behind it worships this practice to a point where gaslighting and doubt, mistrust, etc., are all sewn into its backbones. There is no formalized standard of subliminal creations among creators, at least the ones that I have discussed with. I will give a high likelihood that most creators you see on YouTube that are pushing subliminal affirmations are either creating something that they have way too much confidence in, don't know what they're doing, or hoping that they can make something that helps someone somewhere. Whether it be for a noble goal or a profit goal, etc., it is all toxic and misleading and addictive, especially to impressionable young people, including myself. So let's talk about my experiences. I was introduced to what the concept of subliminals were at the ripe age of 16 years old, while me and my online buddies were goofing around and laughing at random shit on YouTube. We found this subliminal video that promised to make you a shapeshifter or something. It was really stupid. But at that time, I felt so downtrodden and curious that I wanted to wonder for myself, how much could it hurt to try these videos? How much could it hurt to try and get in the process to see if it actually works? And this is where all the problems started to begin. I didn't tell my friends about this. I didn't tell anyone about this outside of the subliminal community. Other than rare scenarios where I felt that if I was able to share it, I wouldn't be perceived as crazy or insane. And that was a downright mistake. If you have issues in your life that you are trying to solve with subliminals, look within and see how much you can accept of yourself. Reach out to those close to you. You are not alone. You have people in your life you can look up to, talk to, and share information. There will always be someone out there for you, and you are not alone. I promise you that with the bottom of my heart. No matter how much it might seem like you are alone and fighting this battle all by yourself, all it takes is a change in perspective to find your own inner strength and the capability to share your problems with other people and find ways to solve them. Back to my story. Wanting to avoid oversharing my subliminal madness with my peers and schoolmates, I decided to coyly bring up the subject of subliminals as if I were just an outsider, just discovering them and not using them by any means. Phrases such as, "Hey, I discovered these things online called subliminals. Don't they sound crazy?" etc., 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 to gauge reaction from people that I knew and to see what they would say so I could gather a sense of belonging. And this is precisely the process that is encouraged within the subliminal community. Not sharing with people who you deem wouldn't believe in subliminals, and observing the world around you as if you are just a normal person. And in reality, you are deluded by beliefs of grandeur and magical solutions to problems that you have that could be fixed in other ways. And none of this is to disparage those who are listening to this video right now. It is a warning sign, a message, a PSA, if you will, to say that you should share anything that you have on your mind with anyone that you trust. No matter how crazy it may seem, find someone who you believe would be able to take this information and process it rationally to be able to help you in the best way possible. I can't stress that enough because I never did any of this in my life while I was using subliminals. At least that was until later in my high school life. Now again, I'm going to stress I will not be disclosing individuals' names or usernames that I interacted with during these times. If they are willing to come forward and talk to me and bring more information forward for a follow-up video, I will inquire and see if that can be arranged. But for now, I am only going to speak in vague information. Fast forward in my time during high school, and I was in a computer class. I had a few friends in, but in high school I was never much of the popular kid. However, there was one person in that class who I slowly began to know through, well, what could you guess? He was one of those kids who was, I'd like to say, kind of a drifter, a loner, and unfortunately, he got into a bad crowd. Not just in subliminals, but in general. This individual, who I will call A, had a very unique personality and sense of humor, and I found that endearing in him, even though it was very off-putting and antisocial. He didn't speak much to people. He wasn't a very talkative person. He kept to himself and did his own thing. He had his own style. However, we bonded over video games and subliminals, and subliminal creation. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, he did the same kind of tactic I did to other people, trying to introduce me to subliminals the same way I would just bring them up nonchalantly. And it was discovered that we both use subliminals as well. He showed me that he created subliminals, but he didn't put much effort into it at that point. That was very much part of his personality. He didn't get very good grades in school. His motivation was very low. I don't believe he was the main catalyst that got me into subliminal creation, but I do believe I learned some tips and tricks from him and kind of just asked questions about the process and everything involving the community. Although he wasn't as versed with everything as I ended up being later. A even ended up creating a subliminal for me at one point, which I was grateful for. And of course I disavow that now. I haven't gone into too much specifics about what subliminals I use because I believe that information is very personal to myself and is not relevant to the discussion. If it is absolutely necessary for any certain reason, I will go into it, but I don't feel it's necessary. How A's story ended is something that I don't want to totally go into because again, it is personal life, personal information. However, I will say that his subliminal journey somewhat ended with him going to therapy and his therapist telling him to shut down his subliminal YouTube channel, which I believe was for the best. And now I'll talk about another individual in the subliminal community that I got to know. I will call this individual B. I met B online. I don't know if I met them through A or if I just found them myself, but at some point along my journey, I met B. B was a niche subliminal creator with an online presence who made subliminals of his own. And he taught me how to make them with his methods. And these were the methods that I ended up using for the rest of my time as a subliminal creator. But as I said before, I got to know other subliminal creators with different methods, and I even personally communicated with some, even if we weren't on friendly terms. I bring this up instead of my personal experiences with listening to subliminals as a testament to the subliminal community's cult-like grasp on the minds of many, even those who just create subliminals for passion or fun or a greater cause. If you are a creator of subliminals, you need to make this as clear as possible to your followers, especially if you are just in it for fun or passiveness. Doubly so if you are making income off of the creation of subliminals and requests and commissions. None of this is worth it. And I stress this here because the voices that speak false praises of results from subliminal videos are 10 times louder than anyone like myself in the community. And that needs to end. Now. It needs to stop being perpetrated by creators. To be as vague as possible with my experience with Subliminals, I jumped back and forth between many creators, methods, playlists, etc., etc., to achieve what goals I wanted at the time. I always felt demotivated, I always felt depressed, I felt as though I could never achieve anything. I always got led to believe false hopes that never ended up happening in any circumstance, except when I took the opportunity to make that change for myself. This video was meant to be a loose retelling of my experiences with Subliminals. And I apologize that it's not as funny as my usual content. It's very personal to myself over the years. I am in no way competent enough to create a full in-depth video on the Subliminal community. However, I am willing to make another video similar to what I did for Young Slayer, with heavy research, heavy investigation, etc., etc., if there's enough interest in this story of mine. I want to close out this video with my statement that I disavow all Subliminal creators and videos, and that I advocate for everyone in the Subliminal community to bring this up with others, discuss, and pull others out of the community and support each other in their trying times. I thank you all for watching this video, and I thank you all for taking your time to hear me out. I know that this might ruffle some feathers or change your perspective of myself. I am going to do what I can to make sure that everything is addressed and explained with due time. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.